All right, let's dive in. Today we're looking at Rumble, specifically a player-discovered glitch. But this isn't just any glitch. It's something called parry stasis, and it's got everyone talking.
Yeah, it's really shaken things up. What's interesting is it all started with a simple Discord post by Deterrelian.
Okay.
He noticed something weird happening when he parried a grounded structure during hit stop. You know that split-second pause when structures collide?
Yeah, hit stop, I know it.
Right. So he found that parrying during that tiny window actually glitches the structure. It freezes, basically, ignores any forces acting on it for that parry duration.
Hold on, so he's like freezing his opponent's structures in midair. That sounds wild. How often can he pull that off, though? Hit stop's so fast. Can you even time a parry that precisely?
Well, that was a lot of players' first reaction. Even Lunartic, who's pretty good at Rumble, doubted you could use it practically.
Oh, sure.
Setting this peristasis up takes crazy timing, and the situation has to be just right.
Yeah, I can imagine. In the middle of a duel, seems almost impossible. Did anyone even bother trying?
Oh, for sure. The Rumble community loves a challenge. Bino1 even asked if you could, like, stack moves on a stasis-locked structure. Charge it up for a huge release when it unfreezes.
Now that's an idea. Imagine hitting a frozen pillar with multiple moves, then bam, all that force unleashed at once. But did anyone prove you can actually do that?
Kajocher did. They posted a video, peristasis with a flicked structure, used it for a combo attack, even positioned it behind the opponent, pulling them in for the hit.
Nice. So it's not just freezing, it's strategic. What did people think of that?
Let's just say Bean1 was impressed. Said, damn, that is actually kind of sick. If I ever get good, I want to learn that. People were hooked.
I can see why. This is where it gets really interesting.
It does, and it gets even weirder. Todobi Blocks comes along with something they called delayed peristasis. Even made a video, but they couldn't figure out how to trigger it consistently.
Delayed peristasis. Okay, now I'm intrigued. What's different about it?
From what we can tell, it keeps the structure in peristasis for way longer, but no one knows the exact conditions. Even Deterrelian chimed in, said he only saw it once, thinks there's more to it than we know.
So like a secret technique waiting to be mastered. It's true. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And to make things even more interesting, there's this whole client-host desync thing that Deterrelian mentioned. Because of the glitch and the online setup, the structure might look grounded to one player but not the other. Imagine the chaos in a duel.
Wait, one player sees a frozen structure, the other doesn't. That's a serious mind game. But let's back up a sec. What about Rumble itself?
Good point. So, in Rumble, you're earthbending, creating structures, discs, pillars, balls, trying to outsmart your opponent in the Rumble arena. You've got ranks, rewards, even shift stones that change your playstyle.
Shift stones, what do those do?
Oh, you've got ones like search for damage, adamant to take less damage, even stubborn, so you ignore damage while dashing, adds a whole tactical layer.
Okay, that makes sense. Sounds like Rumble's got more to it than you'd think. But where does this peristasis fit in? How's it changing things up?
That's the big question, right? That's what makes this glitch so fascinating. It could completely turn the Rumble meta upside down. What used to work might not anymore, and who knows what new tactics will emerge.
So more than just a cool trick, it could change how the game is played. That's a pretty big deal. But how did Detralian even figure it out in the first place?
Well, from what he posted on Discord, he was just messing around with parry timings, different scenarios. He had a feeling something might happen if he parried a grounded structure during hit stop.
So trial and error. Like they say, chance favors the prepared mind. He was looking for something and he found it. But how'd he go from that to, like, really understanding peristasis?
That's where the community comes in. They started sharing their experiences, testing things, even came up with a notation system to describe these peristasis techniques. A real team effort.
It's like a deep dive, but with gamers instead of scientists. But how did he even know to look for that? Why parry during hit stop?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't think he ever said what sparked that initial idea. Maybe a lucky accident, maybe he saw something in another game, who knows? But that willingness to experiment, that's what led to this discovery.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in our games, just waiting for someone to think outside the box. But what are the downsides of this peristasis? There's got to be a reason it didn't become, like, the main strategy right away.
Of course, it's not perfect. Like we said, the setup is super specific. You need perfect timing on the parry, the right structure in the right place. Your opponent needs to play along, kind of. Not something you can do every single time.
Yeah, I get it. Sounds like mastering this peristasis takes more than just knowing the glitch. You need to know Rumble inside out. and how your opponent plays.
Absolutely. It's not a cheat code. It's a tool that takes skill, practice, strategy. But speaking of strategy, we haven't even talked about how people are using it in duels.
Oh, you're right. What are some of the more creative ways they're using it?
Well, remember that video from Kachotra?
Yeah.
They used parry stasis to set up a combo, putting the frozen structure behind their opponent. That's just one example.
Seems like there's a lot of potential there. But how is this affecting the game overall? I mean, if it's as strong as it sounds, wouldn't it make the game, like, unbalanced?
That's the big debate in the Rumble community right now. Some say it's too strong, should be patched out. Others think it adds a whole new layer of strategy.
The purists versus the innovators. Classic gaming debate. But before we get into the whole is it cheating thing, let's talk about the specific techniques people are using.
Definitely. Let's start with Terralian's notation for one of his advanced setups. He actually uses the Rumble notation system to describe a sequence of moves that lets him trigger peristasis with a boulder pretty consistently.
A boulder? Okay, now that's scary. What's the notation for that?
It's GUGDPF. And it's not just random letters. Each one stands for a specific action in a specific order with the right timing.
Like a secret code to unlock a hidden power. But what does GGDPF actually mean?
Well, each letter represents an action in the game. For example, G is for ground, U is for unground, D means a down input, and so on.
So Terralian basically made a language for these peristasis setups. That's impressive. Shows how much people care about mastering these games.
For sure. And this notation lets players share their discoveries, helps everyone understand and develop peristasis even further.
Like a research project, but with gamers instead of scientists. But with all this talk of notation and advanced techniques, it sounds like peristasis is more than just a glitch, almost like a hidden art form within the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. It just shows you the unexpected complexity and depth that can come from even the simplest game mechanics. And it speaks to the creativity of the players who are willing to really dig in and explore.
Okay, so we've talked about how peristasis was found, how it works, even the notation system. But what does all this mean for Rumble in the long run?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something we'll get into more in the next part of our deep dive. But for now, I think it's important to recognize that discoveries like this can really shape how a game evolves. New strategies emerge, old assumptions get challenged, and the developers might even take notice and incorporate some of these discoveries into future updates.
So it's not just players playing the game, they're kind of participating in its development too. It's not a one-way street.
Exactly. And with peristasis, it's clear that the Rumble community has taken this discovery and run with it, exploring its potential in ways even the developers might not have imagined.
It makes you wonder what other hidden depths are out there, just waiting to be uncovered.
That's a great thought, and it's one we'll leave you with as we wrap up this part of our deep dive. But before we go, I want to ask you, our listener, a question. Have you ever found something unexpected in a game that changed the way you played? A glitch, a strategy, a hidden mechanic? We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, those aha moments. Those are what make gaming so fun. And in a way, peristasis embodies that spirit of discovery. It reminds us that even in the most familiar games, there are still secrets to uncover, new things to explore.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and join us again for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of peristasis and explore its impact on the Rumble meta, the ethics of using glitches, and the possibility of this player-discovered phenomenon becoming an official part of the game.
Until then, happy gaming. Back again for more on peristasis. It's been crazy to see how players have taken this glitch and made it part of the game. But I think the big question now is, what happens next?
Right. We've covered the basics, the strategies, even the notation, but where does this go from here?
Yeah, what's the long-term impact?
Well, it's definitely changed how people approach Rumble. Strategies that used to be unbearable, now they're vulnerable to peristasis counterplay.
So it's like this glitch has, in a way, made things more fair. Those who can use it have a real edge.
Exactly. If you can master peristasis, you've got a whole new set of tools. Imagine a tournament. Someone who can pull off that delayed peristasis consistently, they'd be a real threat.
That would be awesome to see peristasis at the pro level. But what about the developers? How are they reacting to all this?
That's the big mystery, isn't it? They haven't officially said anything about peristasis yet. But you know they're watching, seeing how it affects the game.
Oh, I'm sure they are. So what do you think? Will they patch it out, call it an exploit, or could they, embrace it, maybe even refine it, and make it an official part of the game?
It could go either way. Some players might feel like it gives an unfair advantage, that it's breaking the game's balance.
Yeah, I could see that. But then again, it's brought so much creativity and excitement to the community. It's got people thinking outside the box, trying new things.
That's true. And sometimes these glitches, these accidents, they can actually lead to something amazing, something that makes the game even better.
Imagine if the developers took parry stasis and made it official. They could build on it, add new mechanics, new shift stones, even tutorials on how to use it.
That would be interesting to see, wouldn't it? It would show that they're listening to the players, that they're open to changing the game based on what the community discovers.
It would be a real collaboration. But we also have to talk about the ethics of it all. Is it okay to use glitches, especially in tournaments?
Yeah, that's a big debate. Some people say it's cheating, others say it's just using what the game gives you.
And then there's the sportsmanship aspect. Is it really a fair fight if you're constantly using parry stasis to win?
These are all good points. It really comes down to personal ethics, what the community decides is acceptable. Each player has to figure out where they stand.
It's complicated. No easy answers. But it's a discussion worth having, especially as games get more complex, more connected.
Definitely. And this whole peristasis thing, it shows how games are constantly changing, how the relationship between developers and players is evolving.
Games aren't just static things. They're dynamic. They respond to the people playing them.
Exactly. And sometimes it's the glitches, the unexpected things that lead to the biggest changes.
It's funny, a glitch, something that seems bad, can actually end up having a positive impact.
It shows that there's always more to games than we think, and that players have a real role in shaping how games grow and change.
That's a cool thought. It reminds us of the question we asked before. Have you ever found something unexpected in a game that changed how you played?
Those moments where you discover something new, a hidden mechanic, a strategy, even a glitch that opens up new possibilities.
Those aha moments are what make gaming so special.
And in a way, peristasis is all about that. It's about exploring, pushing boundaries, finding something new, even in familiar games.
So keep exploring, keep experimenting. And think about this. If you were a Rumble developer, what would you do about peristasis? Patch it out, make it official, or something else entirely?
It's a tough decision, one that could really change the future of the game.
Welcome back for the final part of our peristasis deep dive. We've explored a lot, from the discovery to the strategies and even the ethical questions.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey. As we wrap up, I think it's good to just step back and think about what we've learned.
I agree. What are the big takeaways? What's the overall message here?
Well, for me, it really highlights that even in a video game, something with code and rules, there's always room for the unexpected, for something new to emerge.
It's kind of cool, right? This glitch, this little mistake, has sparked so much creativity in the Rumble community.
Yeah.
It's like it's expanded what we thought the game could do.
It really has, and it shows you the power of just observing, experimenting, deterring, find this glitch. That was just the start. It was everyone sharing ideas, testing things out, coming up with the notation system. That's what really made peristasis what it is.
It proves that games are more than just games. They can be spaces for creativity, for people to work together, even a kind of science experiment in a way.
I like that. Like, we've been watching these digital explorers mapping out the unknown parts of Rumble's code, finding new things along the way.
And who knows what else is out there waiting to be found. Maybe there are tons of glitches and tricks just waiting for someone to stumble across them.
Endless possibilities. That's what makes gaming so exciting. It's always changing, evolving. But what about peristasis itself? What do you think will happen to it?
That's the question, right? Will the developers get rid of it, keep it, or maybe do something in between? What do you think's most likely?
Honestly, it's tough to predict. It depends on what the developers want for Rumble's future. But peristasis has definitely had an impact. Even if it gets patched out, it's changed how people think about the game. It's sparked a new wave of creativity that will probably stick around even if the glitch is gone.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like it forced everyone to get creative, try new things. And even if peristasis never becomes an official part of the game, it's made us think about glitches in general, their role in gaming, and that conversation is likely to keep going.
For sure. It's like we're redefining fair play, figuring out how much influence players should have on the games they love. It's a tough one, no easy answers, but an important one, especially as games become more and more a part of our lives.
It's almost like a philosophical question now, isn't it? This glitch, this little mistake, has got us thinking about the nature of games, the relationship between developers and players, even the ethics of using glitches to our advantage.
It's been a wild ride, and thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It really has. And as we wrap up, one last thought. Next time you're playing a game, keep an eye out for the unexpected. Don't be afraid to try new things, push the limits, explore the game in ways you hadn't thought of before. You never know. You might find your own peristasis, a glitch or a strategy that changes how you see the game and inspires others to do the same. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep that sense of discovery alive. Until next time, happy gaming.